Okay, so FLCL Progressive. Gee whiz. That shouldn't exist. I mean, it really, really shouldn't. You can say that it's just a cheap cash in, and I can agree. It's about the nostalgia. It's about getting all those newfangled millennials back into watching these anime shows, cause you know these anime shows are these past few years maybe. I mean, there's been good shows, but I haven't really been keeping up, and for good reason. Um, but consider that FLCL Progressive is actually like pretty good, all things considering. I mean, it doesn't pander too much. It does pander. It does pander a good amount, but I would say that it does it in a way that is like not too much in your face. It's not too much, I think. And of course it's self-indulgent. Of course it's you know it is what it is. And the thing about it is that FLCL Progressive is actually it's good. It's good. Why is it good compared to everybody's criticisms of it? Why I think it's good. Why I think it's a valid sequel. I'd rather not it be a sequel, but I'm still happy that it exists. I Okay. So, FLCL Progressive, why I think it's good. So, take, if you will, this, like, the original FLCL. Let's start off with that. Let's start off with the original FLCL. Now, with the original FLCL, it's very precise. It's very condensed in the way that it presents itself, and it's so airtight in its presentation that nothing could really replicate it, because you know it's this one dude's vision of like, oh, these are the things that I like. I like guitars. I'm gonna put a bunch of guitars in there. I like cats. We're gonna have Hideaki Anno voice the big ass cat. Like, and I like having manga panels in my anime. Let's do that. So that's one thing. That's another thing. But you have these 6 episodes that each have their own unique flavor to them, but they still have they still are work all together, and they're very cohesive in the way they work it, with not only in their aesthetic and their writing and the character and the characterization. It's very tight, and it's has a lot of symbolism to it. I'm pretty sure you can see every other video essayist person say that FLCL is like, it's all about kind of almost deconstructing Bildungsroman, the coming of age story. And what it does with that, it does it in a unique way of saying, like, this is how it is to be 12, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people resonate with that. That's why it's so popular. That's why people wanted to cash in on it in this modern age of, 12 episode animes compared to 25 episode animes, where that's more of the common thing, and everybody's always concerned about whether or not their show is going to get a second season, when usually it'd be like, oh, I have 50 episodes? Okay. But with FLCL, it's 6 episodes. It's an OVA. It's very weird, and it's very good. It's extremely good. I don't think anything under the FLCL moniker can ever live up to the original, because it's so tight, and it's so, like, it's all about its ideas. It doesn't take too much time to dilly-dally, which I can see why the criticism of FLCL Progressive is valid, because there's a lot of things I feel don't, like, add to the plot compared to the original. Because in the original, you had cool things happen. You had those things, but that was part of the point. That was part of, like, oh, this is part of how a 12-year-old boy would see this. You know, this is part of his perspective. This is what they want. That's why Haruko's there, you know. And, like, let me get on to my first point of why FLCL progressive is good. Like, symbolically. Like, you know, in the original, you just had Haruko. You just had this, she symbolized the ideal adult, like, imaginary figure that you have in your head when you're 12, you know, like, oh, I can be as selfish as I want, I can do whatever I want, I can go this way or that, you know, and I have control over everything, and I'm a powerful being in this world, you know. But, like, it's with Haruko as a character, it shows how that is unbelievably flawed and inhuman. That's why she's an alien. That's why she comes from another world, you know, because when you're a kid, you feel like adults are from another world, you know, and, like, it's all about that kind of relationship between, like, chasing that ideal future or being yourself, which is why, I can't remember the commander's name right now, but big eyebrows guy, like, that's why he has such big eyebrows, because he's compensating for following his dream and being betrayed by that ultimately. But in FLCL progressive, I think it's, like, with the addition of Junin and her stuff in there, like, her character is the same as Haruko, but she represents something different. She represents being fully in control of your emotions and fully in control of uncontrollable situations, and being 100% responsible all the time, being able to take care of yourself 100% all the time, you know, and it's all about how she's, like, this ideal of she's a different ideal of adulthood. That's why she's the same as Haruko, and that's why Hitomi chases after her. That's why Hitomi hangs out with Junin over Haruko for most of the show, compared to Ida, who is all about Haruko because he wants that sort of freedom. He wants to be cool. That's why his abuse in like episode 2 is so romanticized, is because, like, when you're 14, you know, this is from the perspective of both a 14-year-old girl and boy, mostly from the girl. Like, that's why he kind of romanticizes that, because, you know, he wants to seem cool, he wants to seem like he's tough, he wants to seem capable, you know, and that's something that you want to be when you're 14, because you're on the cusp of becoming a teenager, of coming into a more turbulent part of your life, and then becoming an adult where you have to be in control of everything. And with Hitomi's abandonment issues, it makes a lot of sense why she would go for Junin, and it's like, and with Haruko meshing with Junin, consuming Junin, like, that is representative of how, for both Hitomi and Ida, that like, the response, like, this ideal adulthood, this ideal freedom, is also a part of that, is the responsibility aspect. And that's why in episode 5, I believe, it's when Haruko's like, oh, I'm not your teacher anymore, I'm pregnant with Adamusk's baby, you know, like, she's just like, she's representing both feeling like you have all the freedom in the world, like, you can have children, but you can still go wherever you want, you can still chase after an alien pirate, you know, you can still do whatever you want, but you can still be in control of everything, and that's pretty interesting and smart for something like that to say. And you know, of course, FLCL, I think, is, like, stronger in the way that it presents it, you know, because it doesn't have all the stupid side plots, and its pace isn't at a breakneck pace, you know, and it's like like, my dude, chill, you know, compared to how calm and how kind of chilled out and washed out the original FLCL's color scheme is too, and the pacing, like, compared to the more, like, kind of generic color scheme of progressive, you know, it's important to differentiate that. And, like, I think, you know, with that symbolism, with that says a lot, you know, and how, like, basically, like, the whole climax of, like, trying to get rid of what's it called? The iron, the, like, medicine metallica? No, it isn't called that, but I'm close. I know I'm close, but, like, that's why when the dodo bird guy is trying to unleash all the energy of all the tweens' horniness onto the medical mechanica, it doesn't work because medical mechanica is a symbolic thing, you know? Like, it represents kind of like, I don't know, like having, like, losing yourself in adulthood almost. Like, it's not real, and, like, these people are trying to cash in on these children's emotions, and they're trying to defeat this imaginary thing, and, you know, when it just shoots it down immediately, you know, and, like, like, it has a lot of, like, smart ideas, and it has a lot of good thoughts to it, you know, like with Hitomi's issues and how she is portrayed throughout the show, you know, like, I'll get to it more later, but I think her portrayal is pretty realistic, and I can definitely see, like, people who have been like Ida when they're 14, you know, and it's, like, it has a lot of those concepts, a lot of those ideas. They explore somewhat, and it's okay. You know, I think a lot of the side characters are stupid. You know, like, I'm happy that they're there. It makes it a fun time, but, you know, I don't think they're really necessary. There's a lot of you know, that kind of, not a whole lot of really plot relevant stuff there, and you know, the references are indulgent, you know, with Conti being there, with all this other stuff. Like, it's okay. It's cool. Whatever. You know, I'm not particularly offended with, oh, they ruined my childhood. They ruined FLCL the forever. No, they didn't. I just appreciate that FLCL Progressive was still willing to not be a generic show. It was still, you can tell that there was a lot of love put into it and a lot of care put into some of the things, and, like, with different animation styles and the pillows too, you know, getting everybody back. You know, of course it's a big old nostalgia trip, but I think that's okay. But let me just say, like, Hitomi is pretty realistic because I was a lot like Hitomi when I was 14. I mean, just isolating yourself and, like, fantasizing about the end of the world and just trying to deal with your own shit, and while your parents are just kind of annoying. And that's another thematic thing is, you know, FLCL explores how, you know, the dad is just kind of like, he feels kind of alien and weird to Naota, while in Progressive it's treated more as like the parent is just kind of there and is trying to help you but can't understand you. So, you know, you kind of have that, even though I feel like the resolution of Hitomi and her mother's arc is forced and contrived. It's okay, it just needed to end, whatever. But like, I was a lot like Hitomi. I was a lot like, I isolated myself. I didn't have friends. I just kind of was like, I'm going to just kind of go into my own space. And also, another thing that I appreciate is that they acknowledge her sexual preferences, which I feel like nothing has really done that before, you know, at least not as mainstream as a commercial anime, you know, and I really appreciate how she's just kind of a sadist, and, like, it's not brought up again in the show, but I appreciate that detail in there, because I'm pretty sure it's pretty realistic, you know, to it's realistic to how kind of women find their own sexualities and then are just supposed to ignore it, you know. And yeah, that's all I have to say. I mean, I don't know if I did any good arguments or anything, but, you know, I tried. I did something. I made a voice recording. Whatever. I did something. Yeah. But thanks for listening to all this, and yeah. Let's see where this goes. Thanks. Yeah.